Our next speaker has led diverse design teams to deliver delightful products with a positive impact. Ityam Deshpande is the Director of Product Design at Reva Technology and has worked closely with cross-functional stakeholders. Today, she joins W Summit to share her thoughts on finding your voice in a room with these key decision makers. Please welcome Ityam Deshpande.
Hello everyone, I'm very excited to be speaking at the W Summit, and it's so wonderful to feel all of your presence virtually today. Hi, I'm Ityam, and I'll be speaking on the topic of finding your own voice in a room with CXOs. Let me quickly walk you through my own journey in design before I delve into the topic. I have studied design both in my undergrad and grad, and have applied my learnings in the professional setups for over 12 years now. And over these years, I have had multiple opportunities to be in a room with CEOs, CPOs, CTOs, VPs, even investors, as well as board members of companies. And some of these interactions happened quite early on in my career. When I look at these interactions as opportunities right now, I also remember that in the moment, they did seem like nightmares. Let me tell you one such story from my very first startup in the Silicon Valley, where I joined right after my grad school. This was day 3, and I was already discussing some design ideas about a new feature improvement with my product manager. And I was totally in the zone, discussing and debating, and just equipped with all of the academic learnings that I had learned through all of the academic years. But as we were in the moment, the CEO walks in, and I freeze. That night, I went home. And I just couldn't help but think, how was I going to unfreeze myself and handle myself in these situations? Why did I freeze? It wasn't that I did not have any ideas or thoughts to share. It wasn't that I didn't have questions that I could have asked him. It's just that I just froze in the moment. And this was not going to be a one-off for me anymore. This was going to be my regular day-to-day. Hence, I embarked on this journey to find out ways in which I can navigate this environment and be able to find my own voice with confidence and speak with confidence in such rooms. I am very delighted to be sharing some of those learnings with you today. And I'm happy to say that there is a way out of it. There is basically a muscle that you can strengthen with different approaches that I would be sharing with you. I've packed my learnings into a framework that I call the POP framework. This framework has 3 ingredients: process, the ownership, and the pressure. And we will be unpacking each one of these ingredients in the subsequent slides. So without any further delay, let's get into the first one, the process. What I mean by process is defining a method for yourself to consistently unblock your voice. And I have 3 tips here for you. The first one is the most intuitive, which is design is iterative. This is something that we are taught in every design school, every design course. And surprise, it applies to the professional setup as well. Do not let the burden of perfection bog you down from sharing where you are at. Leverage this iterative nature of design to just unlock your voice and give a quick update about what you've explored so far, irrespective of who is in the room. They want to know what has been the design journey thus far, what are the iterations. So use those as your voice. The second tip I have here is also one of the very commonsensical one, given that we are user-centered designers, is to really keep the users at the center. Where we are taught this again in schools, that be very deliberate in professional setup about interacting with your users. For example, I keep a success metric for myself that is based on the number of user interactions I have every week. And these don't have to be active engagements through interviews. These can just be, even passive engagements like watching a recorded session, a usability session, or just taking part in a customer support thread. But by doing so, you are, in a sense, building a repository of knowledge around users that becomes your strength and that you can use to share a user insight, which will get the attention of everyone in the room. Because no matter who is in the room, they want to really know what the users are saying. The third tip I have here is the execs are in the room too. So in this whole iterative process, and in this process of discussions, make sure that you are looking at the execs as the team, as a part of the team. You'll be often interacting with execs who are also the founders of the company, and they have spent ample amount of time with the customers. Hence, they have such a good pulse on the users. Use these interactions as opportunities to just get quick feedback or their gut feeling about a design or an iteration that you are working on. So just remember that they are in the team too. The second ingredient in the top framework is that of ownership. And what I mean by ownership is truly owning the problem space by understanding the constraints, the hurdles, and being able to overcome them to ship deliverables. In startups, you are constantly wearing multiple hats. And the way I look at it is that you are the problem owner, the product owner, and the solution owner. And this is a skill or a muscle that you can build. And here are some tips that I have for you to really build that muscle, ownership muscle. The first one is to invest in learning about the entire customer lifecycle. As designers, we might sometimes feel ourselves too pigeonholed into a specific area that we're working on, but really strive to understand the broader customer context and how does whatever that you're working on really fits into the day-to-day life of the customers. And secondly, not to stop there. Take it a step further and understand even the broader product context as well as the business context behind it. Because when you are working on a design, it's not going to be used in a silo. So invest the time in understanding how it fits into the overall product context, how it's going to impact the business outcome. And lastly, make sure that you learn how to translate this. Because at the end of the day, your work will be measured based on the business impact it has. As design professionals, we are always working with cross-functional partners. So learn their language, learn how to translate your work into their language. And this will give you the autonomy to really own the narrative that you have. And strengthening the ownership muscle can go a long way in popping your voice with confidence in a room, because then you have the autonomy over the narrative. The next ingredient is the one that I will spend a little bit more time on, which is pressure. But what is pressure? It's in a sense an external force that you feel that is impacting your work. We often hear how startups tend to have this high-paced, high-energy, high-pressure environment. But what I've noticed is that sometimes this environment and this pressure propels me to come up with creative ideas, but sometimes this pressure just makes me go down a fear spiral where I just cannot think of anything. And it can feel really lonely and unproductive there. Hence, it's important to differentiate between good pressure and bad pressure and create tools that can help you overcome and come out of the bad pressure loop. Let's look at a couple of narratives here, where in first scenario, the bad pressure environment or a narrative would be something where I'm thinking that I will be a failure if I am not able to deliver this on time, or my team is going to think I'm incompetent. Whereas in a good pressure narrative, what I'm going to think is that my work really matters. I want to add value to my team, and my team members inspire me to do work and by giving their feedback. Being able to differentiate between bad pressure and good pressure helps you understand that the bad pressure environment is controlling your narrative, is controlling your world with fear, whereas a good pressure is really motivating you and propelling you further towards the North Star that you have. You can navigate your way out of a bad pressure situation or a bad pressure mindset that you have by using these 3 tips. First off, just take a pause, just reset and restart by refocusing on the impact of your work. Really think about why your work matters and why you are in that room. And just that mindset shift, that shift of perspective, you will see that it will bring magical results in terms of how you were approaching a discussion and your presence in a room. And always, always remember that you're always in this game with your team. The good ideas never come from unsettled mind. So make sure that you're just giving yourself a moment to settle in and then control the narrative by coming out of that back pressure loop. And that's another really important way to be able to find your voice with confidence in a room. I want to wrap up my session with some of the advice that I have hold very near and dear to my heart I've received over the years from my mentors. The first one, you're being paid for your opinions. Don't be afraid to share them. And the second one is you decide whether or not you want to be in a room. You can leave when you want. It's your choice. With that, I want to wrap up my session and thank you all for listening. And I hope you all can embark on this journey to pop your own voices in a room filled with CXOs. Thank you.